Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living here at Sophie's Grill and Bar. Today I'm going to lead the meditation prior to our service that starts at 10:45. Our meditation will be for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to open with a reading by Ernest Holmes. If you would, just relax and try to leave any thoughts and stress that you had coming to this moment behind. Bring yourself right to this moment. Take a few deep breaths. The name of this talk is Today I Rejoice in All Nature. Since happiness is the reason for my being, and since the kingdom of heaven is a joyous state of consciousness, and since the kingdom of heaven is here and now, today I consciously open my whole thought to the influx of divine harmony. Today I realize that I am not a stranger on the shores of time, but I am an honored guest in the kingdom of God. Today I enter with joy into my kingdom, into the warmth and color of living. Today I enter into the peace and the calm and the poise that belong to the kingdom of good, to the kingdom of fulfillment, which is the kingdom of God. Today I say to myself, behold, the kingdom of God is at hand. This kingdom is my kingdom. My kingdom is here and now. My host sits beside me, walks with me, gives me wise counsel. My host advises and gently leads me down the corridors of time, till all shadows are cast behind, and the golden rays of peace flood my whole being with eternal light. And now we will enter into a period of silence along with a little background music for about 15 minutes. And I will bring you out of it at the end of the period. And now you'll gently, slowly bring yourself back into the room. I will close today's meditation with the remainder of the reading by Ernest Holmes. Today I will recognize the divine in everything. I will realize that the ground upon which my feet tread is holy. The voice of truth will rise from every form in nature, proclaiming the holiness, the wholeness of all that is. The sun will represent the warmth and color of the infinite. Not only will the morning stars sing together, but I will chant my hymn of praise, and with them I will rejoice in all nature. Thank you for joining us for meditation and lending your consciousness to the celebration service that is coming up at 10:45. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. We're very excited and grateful that you have chosen to join us today, whether you are here in the room at Sophie's Grill and Bar or whether you are out there in virtual land and inviting us into your living rooms. We are very grateful. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Dusty Rippelmeyer, and I have the honor and the privilege of being this beautiful community's spiritual director. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living, and we believe that there is one power and presence that is back of everything that there is, seen and unseen. We believe that that presence is eternal, that it is benevolent, that it is the very essence of love, of peace, of joy, of creativity, of freedom, of abundance, and we believe that we are one with it, that it is that which created us in its image and likeness, that wherever we are, God is in its fullness and in its wholeness. We also believe that God created everything, right? And because we were created in its image and likeness, we too have that ability to create. And in fact, we are creating each and every single day, whether we're aware of it or not, whether we do so consciously or unconsciously. But we gather here together to talk about the principles and the laws that we are able to use, about this presence that is surrounding us and within us, so that we can intentionally and consciously use this teaching and these principles to create lives that we absolutely love to live. And we gather together to support each other as we do that, as we walk our own spiritual paths. And so once again, I am very grateful that you have chosen to join us today. Now, this Sunday, if you believe that the weeks go from Sunday to Sunday, then today is the first day of a very busy week. So just a few things that I wanted to bring up so that we can be thinking about them throughout the entire week. The first is the season for nonviolence. So the season for nonviolence runs from January 30th through April 4th. The season for nonviolence is a grassroots global campaign dedicated to raising awareness about the transformative power of nonviolence. The season was established by Arun Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, as a yearly event celebrating the philosophies and the lives of Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Now, the season marks the 64 calendar days between the memorial anniversary of the assassination of Gandhi on January 30th and the assassination of Martin Luther King on April 4th. A couple of quotes by them. Martin Luther King Jr. says, "Here is the true meaning and value of compassion and nonviolence, when it helps us to see the enemy's point of view, to hear his questions, to know his assessment of ourselves. From this view, we may indeed see the basic weaknesses of condition, and if we are mature, we may learn and grow and profit from the wisdom of the brothers and sisters who we called the opposition." And Mahatma Gandhi says, "Nonviolence is not a garment to be put on and off at will. Its seat is in the heart, and it must be an inseparable, and it must be an inseparable part of ourselves and of our being." Now, the invitation today is to spend the days between January 30th and April 4th living our lives from a context of peace, living our lives from a context of nonviolence in everything that we do, in every relationship that we have, with every person that we encounter. And then to watch how it changes ourselves and how it changes those around us, and how that indeed changes the world. The second thing that I want to talk about is that February is Black History Month. And Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Other countries around the world, including Canada and the United Kingdom, also devote a month to celebrating Black history. The invitation is to spend the entire month, actually the entire year, but most specifically this entire month in really promoting celebrations of all of the African Americans around our country and in the world, and truly acknowledging and demonstrating that Black lives matter. And in that vein, we're going to start today with February 4th. February 4th is Rosa Parks Day. Rosa Parks Day honors an American civil rights hero. On December 1, 1955, after a long day of work, Rosa Parks boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She took her seat in the black section. As she rode the Cleveland Avenue bus home, the bus began to fill. The Montgomery City Ordinance allowed bus drivers to assign seating. However, it did not permit them to demand that passengers give up their seats. Now, despite this, the bus drivers customarily required Black passengers to give up their seats to white passengers when public transportation became full. When the bus driver asked Rosa Parks to give up her seat, she refused. Police arrested her, and what follows is civil rights history. On December 5th, 1955, the courts found Rosa Parks guilty of violating the city ordinance and fined her $10 as a court fee. African American leaders, including E.D. Nixon and Martin Luther King Jr., organized the Montgomery bus boycott for the day of Rosa Parks' trial. The boycott succeeded and lasted several months, devastating the transportation system in Montgomery. Rosa Parks says, "I believe we are here on the planet Earth to live, grow up, and to do what we can to make this world a better place for all people to enjoy freedom." And so it is. I have one important save the date announcement for you this morning. We've been waiting for months and months and months because we were originally scheduled in 2020, and the date is finally almost here for our annual meditation retreat. The retreat will be held at the St. Francis Springs Retreat Center over Memorial Day weekend from Friday, May 27th at 6 o'clock through Sunday afternoon, May 29th. To be out in nature, to experience some good food, and some good music, and a deep connection, not only with the divine, but with each other. I really say that it truly is a life-altering experience. So please consider joining us for this amazing and sacred event. The invitation is to be on the lookout for registration information and to mark your calendars today so that you don't fill it up with something else. I would now like to thank the lovely Diane Carnes for her beautiful meditation that expanded our container for the service to unfold within. So thank you very much, Diane. And speaking of Diane, I would like to welcome her back to the platform. Diane Carnes.
Thank you, Dusty. Our theme for the year 2022 is Living Everyday Wonder. Our theme for the month of January is Living Everyday Wonder. Reverend Dusty's talk today is entitled Prove It. I am now going to read this community's purpose statement, and this is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, a love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God. And now, if you would, let's center ourselves. Let's turn within, open your hearts and minds, and allow the healing sounds of the crystal bowls to simply wash over you. I welcome everybody to bring their attention back into their bodies and into the room. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Please welcome my husband, John Carnes, and Susanna, who will be assisting us this morning. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. Thank you. I'm now going to do an invocation for the service. And once again, if you would just go within, close your eyes if you would like. Take a deep breath. Right now, in this space, we recognize the presence of Divine Spirit. This ineffable Spirit pervades the space as love, goodness, and inspiration. I know Spirit is love, love for the center, love for all our friends here today, in person at Sophie's, and all our friends listening at home. I feel Spirit today. It is wonderful and all-pervading, uplifting. We are always absolutely one with Divine Spirit. We always, therefore, have a perfect channel to God, always in sync with God. We are never alone. There is no separation. There is only this love. And in this space of oneness and in the spirit of love, I bless all the hands that have come together today to provide this service. All our volunteers, I bless especially our AV team, Heather and Ava, whose dedication make it possible for you at home to participate with us. I bless the music today provided by Karen Daly, whose voice is so beautiful and who sets the mood for the service. I bless everyone here at Sophie's today, including myself, everyone watching at home, knowing they receive exactly what is needed today. And I especially bless Reverend Dusty as she delivers her message, knowing she is a clear conduit, divinely inspired to communicate today's message. I bless this service, knowing it is perfect and a blessing for everyone. And so it is. Our reading for today is by Ernest Holmes. Of course, the theory of any scientific principle goes beyond its application at any given stage of the unfoldment of that principle and the evolution of its accomplishments. If this were not true, there would be no progress in any science. The sciences are objectively real to us only insofar as we demonstrate them, and until demonstrated, they are suppositional, so far as practical results are concerned. If there is any field of research where the practical application is necessary, it is in the field of metaphysics. The reason being that the principle of metaphysics seems less tangible to the average person than does the principle of other sciences. And today, now let's welcome Karen Daly.
Good morning. Thank you. Doctors have come from distant cities just to see me. Stand over my bed, disbelieving what they're seeing. They say I must be one of the wonders of God's own creation. And as far as they see, they can offer no explanation. And newspapers ask intimate questions, want confessions. They reach into my head to steal the glory of my story. They say I must be one of the wonders of God's
as far as they see, they can offer no explanation. Ooh, I believe fate smiled and destiny laughed as she came to my cradle. No, this child will be able, and laughed as my body she lifted. No, this child will be gifted with love, with patience, and with faith. She'll make her way. People see me, I'm a challenge to your balance. I'm over your heads, how I confound you and astound you. They say I must be one of the wonders of God's own creation. And as far as they see, they can offer no explanation. Ooh, I believe fate smiled and destiny laughed as she came to my cradle. No, this child will be able, and laughed as my body she lifted. No, this child will be gifted with love, with patience, and with faith. She'll make her way. With love, with patience, and with faith, she'll make her way. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Karen. It was absolutely beautiful. So grateful for your presence in our community and your inspiring music. Thank you. So the basic supposition of today's message is that it is not enough to simply know spiritual truth, that we must live it, we must experience it, and we must allow it to transform our lives. The truth is that there is just one life. We are all, each of us, each and every single one of us, living that one life. And living that one life requires active participation, application, and practice. Ertholm says one of the greatest difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. Now, a demonstration is the result of embodying something so fully and so completely that it takes form. Life is an experience that must be experienced. And the truth is that we prove it by living it. There's a story about a man named Johnny. And Johnny decided that he wanted to get healthier. And so he chose to join a neighborhood gym. Now, one of the perks of joining this gym was that his membership included 3 sessions with a personal trainer. So at their first meeting, after listening to Johnny's goals, the trainer helped him create a plan, and he showed him some exercises to get him started. So Johnny paid attention to what the trainer was showing him, and he even took some notes. And when he left the gym that day, he was really excited. A couple of weeks later, he met again with the trainer, and the trainer gave him some more exercises and talked to him about some of the classes that the gym offered that he could maybe really like. and offered some suggestions about some nutritional changes that Johnny might want to consider. At their third session, Johnny complained to his trainer that he just wasn't seeing the results that he really wished that he would have. So curious and wanting better to assist Johnny in attaining his personal fitness goals, the trainer asked him a few questions. So, which classes have you taken, Johnny? I haven't taken any, Johnny answered. And what dietary changes have you made? None, he replied. Of all of the exercises that I showed you, which do you do most often? Wait, what? You mean I'm supposed to be actually doing them? He exclaimed in dismay. Now we can laugh at this story because it's really pretty obvious, right? We know that if we go to the gym and we even see a personal trainer, that we don't do the exercises, or we don't go to any of the classes, or we don't make any of the dietary changes, then we're really not going to see any of the physical changes that we really want to be able to see. The same is true of our spirituality. The underlying insights of this particular story are that if I am just listening, I might forget. If I am paying attention, I may remember. If I am applying what I pay attention to, I will, in all probability, learn something. But when I am practicing fully, I open myself up to embody, to understand, and to actually transform. Ernest Holmes always said, don't just take my word for it. Prove it to yourself by demonstrating the principles in your everyday lives. So today I have 3 main points to discuss around this idea of prove it. The first point is science. Ernest Holmes titled his work The Science of Mind, and he named the teaching religious science. Now, he intentionally chose to add this word science. The Oxford Dictionary defines science as the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experimentation. The intellectual and practical activity, observation and experimentation. Observation and experimentation. If we accept science of mind or religious science as a science, then a mere intellectual understanding or knowledge of spiritual principles is not sufficient. We have to practice. We have to prove it. The second point around this idea of prove it is that our lives themselves are our laboratories. Without petri dishes or test tubes or beakers or Bunsen burners, our own lives are our laboratories. Ernest Holmes said, I would rather see a student of this science prove its principles than to have him repeat all of the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. One principle that many of us may want to experiment with in our lives and to prove comes from the book of Malachi. In it, God says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now here within, saith the Lord, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing so great that you will not have enough room to take it in. In other translations, it says, prove me in this. Now, the verse in Malachi is a call to action. It is a call to demonstrate the law of cause and effect, or the law of attraction, or the law of giving and receiving, or whatever we want to call it. And that action is to tithe. And the verse promises that if we do, heaven will pour out a blessing so great that we will not be able to take it all in. In her book, The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, A Simple Guide to Unlimited Abundance, author Edwene Gain clearly states this spiritual law when she says, you must tithe 10% of all you receive to the person, place, or institution where you have received your spiritual food. 10% of everything you receive. Now, she was very clear. She made it abundantly clear. She was even adamant about the subject. She says we can't just talk about it. We can't just read about it. We actually have to do it in spite of our fears. She says that even when the bills can't be paid, and she tells stories about how her own life in which she tithed when she didn't even know where the next meal for herself and her daughter was coming from. The story tells how tithing her last dollar actually opened the floodgates and changed her life forever. The story is inspirational. But hearing about it or reading about it doesn't change our own lives. We can never really fully understand the power of this or any spiritual practice unless we experiment and try it for ourselves and prove it in our own everyday lives. No one can do it for us. Only we can do it for ourselves. Only we can prove it in our everyday lives. The third point about this idea of prove it, takes us back to the sciences and something called the scientific method. Now, the scientific method provides an organized way to think about and to solve problems based on experimentation. And one aspect of the scientific method is called the hypothesis, which is or refers to an educated guess or a reasonable guess or an assumption based on what can be observed or what can be known. Now, in other words, it's a statement that can be tested and collaborated or disproved. A hypothesis can be further supported or disproved at any time with a different experiment or with a new observation or a new way of thinking about it. Change your thinking, change your life is an axiom of our philosophy. It's a basic assumption, right? An assumption of our science, if you will, that informs our concept of the creative process, or in layperson's terms, how we create the experiences of our lives. Change your thinking, change your life. Now, if we have been here for any length of time, we would have heard this axiom time and time again, or perhaps seen it on a bumper sticker or two, right? However, when was the last time that we actually looked at this axiom with the objective eye or the inquisitive curiosity of the scientific method? We have already seen that simply stating spiritual principle doesn't change our experience. So what does change your thinking actually mean? Perhaps it means changing not only what we think about, but how we think about it, or the way we think about it, right? Perhaps in order to really change our lives, more than just our thinking, we have to change our beliefs and our behaviors. Perhaps we need to take an even deeper look at our teaching itself. Not the laws and the principles behind the teaching, but our expression of it. I believe Ernest Holmes would encourage this type of inquiry because he would always say that he wanted the teaching or the philosophy or the science to be open at the top, to allow in new ideas or new beliefs or new axioms or new behaviors and new ways of being into our teaching in order to stay relevant in an ever-changing world. Recently, Heather and I attended the annual CSL convention virtually. Now, the theme for the convention was Embrace the Now, which was absolutely perfect because I think that was my talk title last week. Now, while the entire convention was not set up to be a hybrid experience, meaning that they didn't always have availability for people to be in the room and for there to be a virtual experience, we were able to watch all of the general sessions themselves. While I would choose to be here at Sophie's or in any other in-person experience over being virtually there time and time again, I was still really inspired by a number of the general session messages. Throughout the week, ministers such as Reverend Dr. Edward Vilhune or Reverend Dr. Petra Weldis or Reverend Carolyn Douglas or Reverend Jim Lockhart and other ministers shared ideas that really touched me and resonated with me and challenged me and inspired me. Thoughts and feelings have been swirling within me and around me since that week. And isn't that really what the scientific method is all about? Isn't that really what it's about? Having a question about something and taking a deeper dive into it in order to prove or disprove it in our own lives. So I was called to share some of the wisdom and some of the questions that I heard last week for us today. For example, at the opening session on Tuesday evening, Reverend Dr. Vilhune, who just happens to be the spiritual director of CSL, began the week reminding us that it was 10 years ago that Centers for Spiritual Living was born. Prior to that, we had a history of 50-plus year history of separation. A deep divide between two different groups of religious scientists was actually bridged during that convention of 2012. So the seeds of who we are today as a united community were sown back then. And the questions that Reverend Dr. Vilhune asked of all of us on Tuesday, and the questions I am asking all of us today, included: what will our communities need 10 years from now that we need to put into motion today? What seeds do we need to sow that will assist them as they navigate the challenges that might be up for them in 2032? What do we need to sow on their behalf? Who do we have to be, and what do we have to do? And so the week began. One conversation that came up for me a number of times over the course of the week was the idea of spiritual bypass. Now, this has come up for me in the past, but it really came up for me during the week. Where is the fine line between surrendering to the present moment and not actually feeling our feelings? Where is the fine line between being okay with what is and not whitewashing the entire experience with Pollyanna positivity and platitudes? Where is the fine line between being in the moment and not really allowing people to see what it is that we stand for as a person, or as a community? Where and when does it become spiritual bypass? Where and when does it become an experience that does not support ourselves or anyone else? Perhaps it is different for each of us in the different arenas of our lives, or the different relationships of our lives, or for certain issues that tend to push our buttons when we encounter them. Because each of us has something that when we encounter it raises our ire, right? Gets underneath our skin. However, the bottom line is, where is that fine line? That fine line for each of us. The last couple of years have not been easy for any of us. There has been lots of challenges, lots of changes, lots of death, grief, anger, frustration, fear, and disappointment. Are we to stand in or perhaps hide behind positivity, or would it behoove us to stand in the midst of the challenge? Are we to stand in or perhaps hide behind positivity, or would it behoove us to be there for each other when we are experiencing fear or doubt or worry or frustration or anger or disappointment? Reverend Dr. Edward quoted L.R. Knutst, who says, "Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention." So go, love, intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you. So in order to really answer this clarion call, would it behoove us to lean into the challenges and not away from them? Would it behoove us to turn toward the chaos and be the light in the darkness? In order to stay relevant, we have to ask ourselves these difficult questions of ourselves and of each other and of our communities. We have to answer them for both ourselves individually and collectively. Reverend Edwards says we have to find a modern expression of our beloved science of mind that does not blame the victim for their experience, but instead teaches us to have minds that can hold the complexity and the ambiguity and the contradiction of being human with all of its nuances, and to remain open for the full range of feelings that go with being a messy human being. The invitation is to stand in the darkness and to let our lights shine, to stand in the glorious mess and be all that we were created to be for ourselves and for each other. Another conversation that Reverend Edward had fits this conversation about the axiom, change your thinking, change your life, at least in my mind. Now, he quoted Ernest Holmes, who said, "The one who understands the science of mind will be tolerant, kind, and sympathetic." And he posed a question to this idea. Is being tolerant enough? Shouldn't we be more than tolerant? Wouldn't being open at the top actually include building upon that thought that Ernest had and expanding it to include inclusivity and expanding it to actually celebrating our differences while we honor our teaching of oneness? Ernest Holmes also said, "Stand for something and be against nothing." Now, this is one of my favorite ideas. I can remember the first time I ever heard the story about Mother Teresa being asked if she would come and speak at an event that was against war. And she declined. She said, no, I cannot do that. But when you have an event that is for peace, I would absolutely love to come and speak there. Now, for me, this is deep calling unto deep, because I realized in that moment that when we are for something, we make our choices from a context of love rather than from a context of fear. When we stand for something, we ask better questions of ourselves and others, and we open ourselves up for evolved solutions and for unlimited possibilities that are always swimming all around us. The problem, according to Reverend Edward, however, is that we're not always doing a very effective job of being for something. When we hear that axiom, be against nothing, does that say to us that we should turn away from the issue and not say anything at all? If we are changing our thinking, couldn't we think outside of the box and find a way to actually stand for something in those situations rather than turning away when we notice things going on in the world that we simply cannot abide? If we do not take a stand for oneness, if we do not take a stand for kindness, for inclusivity, and for unconditional love, for example, what are we actually promoting? What are we actually allowing to continue to happen? Does that thing that we are promoting or allowing fit our underlying principles? Does it fit our moral and ethical values that we have as a person or as a community? Is it in alignment with our global vision? Reverend Edward asked us to ask ourselves, and I loved these questions, if oneness had an opinion about racism, what would it be? If unconditional love did something about homophobia or any of the other phobias, what would it be? If the infinite, all-inclusive, all-knowing mind had a voice about the inequitable distribution of opportunities and access to service and resources, what would it say? He then invites us to listen, and I add reverently listen. Reverently listen to that opinion, to that voice, and to those actions. The voice, the opinion, the actions of the divine. When we do so, shouldn't we choose to align with that voice, with that opinion, or with those actions? Shouldn't we choose to align with oneness, with unconditional love, and with the all-knowing, all-inclusive mind? Now, I personally agree with Reverend Edward and others who say, when in doubt, lean into our global vision. It will never steer us wrong. Does the thought that we are about to think, or the voice that we are about to voice, or the action that we are about to take fit our vision of a world that works for everyone? Does it raise it up and hold it in the highest light? If it does, then voice it. If it does, then do it. If not, we should be questioning it. Now, I know that today there's been way more questions than there's been answers. But I think that's speaking to this idea of scientific inquiry, of the scientific method, of questioning everything. I also know that the questions that I've asked today are in actuality only a few of the questions that we should be asking ourselves and others. Questions that we should be asking ourselves and others in order to stay relevant, in order to really evolve and to grow and to transform our own lives and the world. Ernest Holmes, in his Sermon by the Sea, says, "Find me 1,000 people in the world who know what religious science is and use it and live it as it is, and I'll and myself live to see a new world, a new heaven, and a new earth here." Now, the truth is that I don't think that he really lived to see that new world. Maybe none of us will. But we can right now sow seeds of that new world, of that new heaven, and of that new earth right now by being open to asking questions, to questioning everything, by being open to changing our thinking when and where we are called to do so, and by ultimately proving our philosophy, the science of mind, and those of us that believe and follow the teaching are able to keep step with the evolution of our times and to the creation of a world that works for everyone. Together, let's prove it. And so it is. So it is. Thank you. So I just invite us to turn within, to allow ourselves to return to that inner sanctuary so beautifully set up by Diane in her invocation, to feel that presence within us and surrounding us, to know that we truly are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, and that we are always supported, guided, guarded, loved by that presence. We are one with it, and we are one with each other because of that golden thread. And it is from that place of unity that I speak these words about and for each of us today. Truly knowing that there is a way for us to live our lives tapped into that presence, tapped into that unconditional love, tapped into that inclusivity, tapped into that kindness, tapped into that oneness. And that when we live our lives from that context, that everything just works. That when we live from that abundance, that peace, that joy, that creativity, that love, that wisdom that is within us, then it is reflected back to us from our external life. That what we give, we shall receive. And we can prove this. We can prove it in our own lives. Taking a situation that is challenging and bringing only love forward. Love forward, love forward. Honoring everyone and our oneness. And seeing what shows up then. And I guarantee you that absolutely there will be more love present. We will experience more love in that situation, in our lives. that truly taking on this idea of proving it through experimentation in the laboratory of our own life will prove these principles to us. That they're not just platitudes or positivity spoken out, but actual ways of being that can change our lives and the lives of those around us. I claim ease and grace for us around this, around making these choices and living our lives from this place, knowing that we are always guided by our inner wisdom, that we can allow it to inform us of all we are to say and to do in any given moment. And to know that we can hold up our thoughts and our actions against our global vision and actually create a world that works for everyone. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them into the action of that law, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite everyone to anchor these words for themselves, for each other, for our community, and for the world, simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. Sustained by the giving of our time, talent, and treasure. This is a time every week where we offer financial support to assist this community to be a beacon of light and love in the Greater Triangle area, a beacon of welcome for ourselves and for each other. Together we affirm the truth that today's offering lifts this spiritual community, prospers the one giving, and contributes to the experience of sufficiency in the world. There are several ways that you can give, and they are here on the screen now. The first is to visit our website at www.trianglecsl.org, and up in the upper right-hand corner there's a button that says Give. The second is to text the word Give using the following number, 919-230-8445, and the third is to send an actual check to our office. The new address is PO Box 4062, Cary, North Carolina 27519. In this moment, I invite everyone to place your hand on your heart with your gift or an intention and repeat our affirmation in a call and response. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. Prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you all so very much for your gifts. And now please assist me to welcome the lovely, the talented, the amazing Karen Daly back to her piano.
Well, I don't have a piano today, but I do have a guitar, so we'll go with that. Whew, thanks, Dusty. Consider the lilies in the fields, how they neither sow nor reap, but still God's beauty is revealed. He watches over them in their sleep. Will he not do so for you? Oh, my little orphan child, when your long dark night is through, you will see the morning smile. Look up Nobody knows the truth. You were such a reckless fool, and you spent your brilliant youth chasing your rainbows and your shadows too. But don't think you've lost your way, 'cause you're standing at the door, and tomorrow is today, and you are the one that you've been waiting for. Look up, have faith, your dreams, they wait for you. Beautiful you. And so ask and you'll receive. Go out and seek and you will find. It's not easy to believe that the water has turned to wine. Look up, have faith, your dreams, they wait for you. Beautiful you. Look up, have faith, your dreams, they wait for you. Beautiful you. Thank you. Have a great Sunday.
Excuse me just a moment. Let's see, a question for you. Thank you, Karen. That was lovely. It was beautiful, as is your voice and the song. If anyone would like prayer, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. On the homepage, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form. We will get that prayer. We'll send it out to all of the ministers and practitioners. And if anyone would like to dedicate a flower dedication to anything, to anyone, for any reason, please contact Heather Abbott at info@trianglecsl.org or Reverend Dusty at dustyrippelmeyer@yahoo.com. And please save the date for our annual Super Bowl and chili cook-off. Yay! The event will be held on Super Bowl Sunday, February 13th, and will be held at the Lodge at Crossroads at 200 Brisbane Woods Way in Cary. The cost is $5 or a crock pot of chili for the contest. There will be cash prizes for the top 3 winners. The lodge will be open at 5:30 p.m. to begin to bring in your chili. The game time is 6:30 through the end of the game. We are offering a course this winter called The Art and Science of Spiritual Mind Treatment. The class combines the principles of science of mind and the practice of spiritual mind treatment. The class is 8 weeks and is facilitated by Reverend Dusty. It will be held on Tuesday evenings from 6:30 to 9 p.m., beginning Tuesday, February 15th. The class is $145. Payment plans are available. You can register with a $25 deposit on our website, www.trianglecsl.org. We will be having an important town hall meeting on Sunday, February 20th, from 2:30 to 4. The meeting will be held on Zoom so that everyone can attend. We will be given an update about the state of the community in all arenas and addressing any concerns and answering any questions you may have. Please consider joining us for this important event. A link will be sent out as we get closer to the date. We are looking for a couple of people who feel called to serve on the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living Leadership Council. For those who feel called, it is a very wonderful and significant way to serve and give back to the community. The term is for 3 years, and while it involves very little actual time commitment, it does involve a lot of intention, consciousness, and love. Please look into your hearts and see if you have a yes to throwing your hat into the ring as a Leadership Council candidate. Please contact Reverend Dusty if you feel called or if you have any questions. And now, in the company of your own homes or here at Sophie's, please stand for our final January affirmation. This is a call and response. Please say it with meaning and repeat after me. Spiritual living is a way of life that happens every moment of every day. It's a way of life that happens every moment of every day. The wonder of spirit is everywhere in my daily life, just waiting for me to live it. It's everywhere in my daily life, just waiting for me to live it. The more I orient myself to the wonders all around me, the greater my capacity to love. The more I orient myself to the wonders all around me, the greater my capacity to love. The more I appreciate the wonders as parts of myself, the greater my capacity to experience joy. The more I appreciate the wonders as parts of myself, the greater my capacity to experience joy. I choose to approach life with awe and wonder, which transforms my experience of it. I choose to approach my life with awe and wonder, which transforms my experience of it. I choose to approach life with curiosity, which encourages me to see the bigger picture. Choose to approach life with curiosity, which encourages me to see the bigger picture. I am present to what is and open to the limitless possibilities that are available. I am present to what is and open to the limitless possibilities that are available. I become what I practice, and all is well. And so it is. And now, one last final time, you're free to sit down, relax, and turn within. And I'll do a benediction on the service. Again, with a feeling of gratitude, I recognize the presence of God, knowing that God is alive and palpable as the love and understanding that pervades this space and this consciousness. His presence is indeed our very selves and always accessible. I'm so thankful right now for Reverend Dusty and her Prove It talk. I am so thankful for the deeper understanding that she always brings through her talks and her presence. I'm so grateful for the wisdom shared that we take it into our daily lives and remember it throughout the week. I'm also so grateful for all our volunteers who have helped make this service happen today, including our AV team, our musicians, anyone who has come early today or stays late to help set up or turn the space back to its regular use. I am full of gratitude for everyone at Sophie's who provides this space for us to have the service, and for all those that have not been mentioned, and for all of you here and online. And so it is.
Thank you all so very much for your presence here today. I just encourage everyone to go out and practice radical, unconditional love with intention this week. Nonviolence, freedom, hold all of these very dear. Thank you all so very much for being here. I love you all. Have a great week.